Ancient Astrology with Sam and Verity.
Hi, I'm Sam Bakewell.
And I'm Verity Hebbs. And today is episode 16, and we will be discussing quadruplicity.
That's correct. Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, you did. You did a great job. It is hard to pronounce.
Yes, I struggle with that word.
So before we start our lesson on quadruplicities, the risk of sounding like a broken record, which I do. I say the same things over and over. Before we can start predicting, we analyse the planet's performance and starting from the planet's sign. So before we do too much else, and at this stage, at this level, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, does the planet and sign, are they working together in harmony? And most of the time, if they're not in rulership or exalted or in triplicity, then they're not really working in harmony. So then we've got to just make some decisions on what they're doing in the natal chart. So we start assessing this by 3 steps. So we look, it's a planet masculine or feminine, what element is it in, and what quadruplicity is it in. There is a 4th, and there are many steps, with our structure to delineate a chart. But at this point, then we would just use those first 3, and then the 4th step would be what condition is the planet in, which is the dignity side of things. And at the moment, we've only looked at the dignity by the 5 levels of rulership. So then, perhaps a little bit further down the track, we'll look at peregrine and fall and detriment and fall. Okay, so after we've made this assessment on the sign and the planet, we start looking at the houses and then the aspects. So there's a lot more layers before you get to a stage where you can start predicting events.
Yeah, so you've got to have the good foundation first.
Exactly, and that's what is very important. And so our last episode, we talked about masculine and feminine. So just keep that in mind as the masculine planets, which are the fire and air signs, and the feminine signs, which are earth and water, and masculine signs take the lead. They have leadership qualities, they're creators of opportunity, they're reactive, and feminine signs are more artistic and passive and miss opportunities. So we did do a little bit on that, masculine and feminine. So that's your first step, is the planet masculine and feminine? Then look at it, is it, what element is it in? So quadruplicities, like elements, rule different values and have characteristics all of their own. So we're looking at cardinal signs, fixed signs, and common signs. So 4 signs for each quadruplicity. So cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And once upon a time called tropical. So if you read something, I think it was more Renaissance, medieval, which used tropical. And so traditionally, these cardinal signs were known as movable signs because they change abruptly. They're quick moving, they're active, they want to be independent, they turn their ideas into action. And, you being a cardinal sign, rising, so you have this action orientated, a lot of things on the go. And they can start new projects, and they're ambitious and inspiring. They're motivated and self-motivated. They're creative. So the creativity to me would be more the feminine sign. So Cancer and Capricorn would be more creative, but not to say that the masculine Aries and Libra wouldn't be creative, because they will give anything a go. So if nobody else is going to do that project, they'll be cutting things out, and making it happen. So
I heard that it was kind of like whenever a cardinal sign it was their season sort of thing. That was the change of seasons.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Kind of
and that comes into the astronomy side of the spheres, right? So we might do an episode on that a little bit further down the track. It's not so exciting, but it is really quite relevant and important to know how important these cardinal signs are.
And it's just sort of an interesting way to think of it, like ushering in new times, new ideas, or new activities, changes.
Yeah,
can be very people that have cardinal energy, can have a lot of change happen.
Yeah.
Things change quickly.
Yeah. And it's very significant. We not long ago had 2 eclipses, that were in cardinal signs. And so as astrologers, we are very focused on these cardinal signs because they really make things happen. They make the changes happen. You find leaders are often have cardinal energies, whether it's a cardinal rising or their lords are in cardinal sign, you often find that also, because they're ambitious, they're about power and they will create change, so once upon a time, many years ago, a student got very angry at me by saying the word power, but you've got to understand that some signs, that's what they want. They want power for whatever reason. Sometimes the power could be a more Aries thing about cutting things and cutting ties and knowing when to assert themselves to end something. So power can be people who want to like Donald Trump, wants to rule the world or will rule America, so there's people who want that kind of power as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess power is quite a interesting sort of.
Oh yeah, although he's more fire and he's got Mars in the first house, so that's where that power comes from, because Mars is about power as well.
Yeah.
So that's not to do with the cardinal
So I guess
Donald
it
Trump.
would probably be power, but then depending on each sign, it would play out in a different way. Like Libra, it might be more maybe asserting power so that they can be sure that there's fairness and equality, or there's harmony.
Well, they're all facilitators.
Take that lead in some way in a relationship to make sure that it is.
Well, it depends on where their lord is, but you'll normally find that, especially those 2 masculine signs, people are going to look to them to lead. They'll wait for them to lead, and they will be promoted really quickly. So it's like that your bosses and your leaders will see something in you that you might not notice in yourself because you're just being you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they're quick of movement and they want freedom of movement also. So of course the masculine signs will work differently than the feminine signs, and Aries will be direct and headstrong and quick in action and initiation, so they can think of an idea and then put it to practice, so therefore acting on it. They're independent and prepared to achieve, they want something more. The Cancer, being a feminine sign, they have strong family values, and their prime importance is to create time for domestic activities and for the family. And Cancerians will resort and play on emotions to get what they want. So if you had a Cancer rising, that is a key part of who they are, but it will depend on where that moon is placed. If it's placed in the money house, it makes it very hard for that a Cancerian person, because it's going to be the moon in Leo in that second house, and so their life is going to be about making money. So they're probably, let's say it's a female's chart and they have children and they want to be at home with their children, well then they still have to work, because that is about money. That a big part of their life and their personality is about making money.
Yeah, that can be quite a pull, can't it?
Yeah, exactly.
When you have conflicting.
It doesn't mean, so when we're looking at the sign and the planet and how well they're working together, so if we were looking at the moon and then we're looking at Leo and how that's playing out with the planet, it's not a right or wrong. It's just understanding what makes this native tick, and how these events happen to them. So that's what we're looking at.
And it can be quite natural to have a push and pull, like you want to do something.
Yeah, you want to be a mother at home and you feel guilty, and but you've got to go to work.
Exactly.
And
I experience that a lot. Mother's guilt.
So Libra is a masculine sign. It wants harmony. It's concerned with partnership, and relationships are important to them, and they have a lovely charm about them because they have that Venus quality as well. But I know a lot of people actually that have got the Libra rising, and so I can think of all the different placements, but even when they're very weakly placed, they're the two lords, Venus and Saturn, they are still looked at to facilitate or lead in whatever area they are
Yes.
those planets are in.
Yeah, even if they don't think that they have that quality, they will most
Well,
likely be
they'll
asked
take
to.
it on. They'll
Yes.
take it on because that's how they've lived all their
Yes.
life. You know,
Yeah.
they've lived with that responsibility and
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah. So Capricorn is a feminine sign and considerate and a bit slower moving because it's got that earth quality. They like to think things through. But if you remember I mean, I've quoted this chart a few times, so I have it in my head and I should actually put it up each time. But so we have the Capricorn rising with the Saturn in Libra in the 10th house with Venus conjunct in Libra. So we have somebody who wants to stop and think things through, but that cardinal masculine sign that Saturn is in is not going to give her that opportunity. She has to think on her feet. And it's like 1 minute, you know, she might be at a slow and steady pace, but it's not going to last because that's what Saturn's going to be doing, creating this quick change. And yes, she can do it. She can handle it because that's what Saturn is. It's high there up in the 10th house, making that happen, you know.
Yes.
And of course, the air signs are all very intelligent signs as well. Okay, so Capricorn, they have a tenacity and they're cautious and discreet, and they are ambitious like all cardinal signs.
So if they're a bit slower moving, does that mean you would notice the same sort of cardinal behaviors in a Capricorn? Is it that they are
they're still going to be
side of it?
cardinal?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If you take the Libran rising chart that we have with the Venus and Saturn in Pisces in the 6th house, you know, they are still the leader. They will still lead because that's the importance of that first house. That is the person. Those lords are equally important because they're going to tell you how well they're leading,
yes,
and how long they're going to lead. Are they going to be consistent with this leadership? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And so would it be wherever the Lord is of the cardinal risings, planet? So if it's, for example, Capricorn rising, wherever that Saturn is, that's where they will most naturally want to lead.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it's like Aries rising, wherever the Mars is.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. So our Capricorn with the Saturn in the 10th, of course, you know, that is in with her career.
Yeah.
She's very motivated with her career.
And a lot of people would recognize that in her, and it would be
quite, and
promote
promoter. So she doesn't stay, you know, in a subordinate position for very long because you know, leaders will see this quality and she will be promoted. Some people are a bit more invisible, you know, that takes them a long time, you know, like, anyway, I'll get sidetracked. I'll get too sidetracked.
That's okay. Carry on.
There's a lot to talk about. So fixed signs, so also known as solid, and so that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And the main fixed tradition is as the term states, they're fixed, they're inflexible, rigid, and can resist change. However, you know, all signs have a negative and a positive, and the positive would be that they actually people who will finish a job, finish a project. They have the staying power.
Whereas I feel like the negative of the cardinals, especially Aries gets it a lot, is, they start it, but they don't finish it. And I find that such a blow to hear.
Being an Aries
it's
rising.
Such it sounds so bad. It's like, so it just sounds like you just waste time, basically. It's like, you start things, but you don't finish them. It just doesn't feel very nice.
Signs, you know, like if we worked with the people, everyone knew astrology and they worked with the people that had these cardinal signs, they would have these cardinal signs, do all the brainstorming, start the ideas, and then give it to the fixed person.
Yeah, it just feels rude
who
to
could
do
follow
that.
Who could follow it through and make sure it is
amazing
completed.
Job. I'd love to just be a brainstormer. But
yeah,
who would just pay me for that though? I got to learn to see things through.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, the world doesn't allow us to do
No,
things like
sometimes you've
that.
got to make yourself do something, even if it's really hard, and you kind of
Mm.
lost your mojo about it.
Exactly, especially cardinal
Yeah.
signs. That's it. That's exactly what will happen. They will just lose their mojo and
Mhm.
think, oh, well, I want to get on with the next thing.
Yeah.
Especially for someone like you who has got their
Mm.
lords in a cardinal sign as
Yeah.
well.
But then it makes me feel like sort of bad in a way, like I'm not going to be reliable to people, and I want to be seen as reliable, you know? So
Mm,
yeah, it's something I'm trying to work on to make sure,
yeah,
because
but
I'm
you've got to
aware of
also
it,
be
you
true
know?
of yourself. And I guess, you know, life is about learning. So, yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So
So yeah, I
fixed.
admire fixed signs for their
Yeah, we talk about the fixed signs quite a
consistency.
lot because,
Yes,
you know,
it's
on
so
a private
different to
level,
me.
because they're so different. Exactly.
Yes. I
Exactly.
find them very interesting. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of fixed people in my life. So
Mm,
yes, yeah, it's
yes, mine
interesting.
too,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
mm,
And I think they've asked the stability to the cardinal. You know,
definitely. Yeah.
they force you to stay in the same house forever, and
Mhm.
they, you know, because they don't want to move. So, you know, cardinal signs will just go, okay, I'll move house now, or I'll change jobs. You know, so
Mm.
they just want, their life is about change.
Mhm.
So fixed signs can be stubborn
Mhm.
but they show reliability and stability.
Mm.
So we mentioned that. Difficult to adjust to new situations. So that
Mm.
can be quite challenging for them. So especially if you have the moon in, like we were saying, the moon in Leo, you know, the cardinal energy as the Cancer wants change and wants to
Mm.
create change. And then the moon in Leo doesn't want the change. You know, it isn't a fire sign. So the
Mm.
Leo fire is a little bit different, you know, so but they will think about it for a long time and often get a lot of advice from people before they make that change, because they automatically know that they are going to, once a change is made, it's going to be permanent, right? So,
Yes.
and they're going to see it through.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're difficult to adjust and attract and absorb energy to them. So, you know, they're those typical type of people. If you had a fixed sign rising and the Lord is in a fixed sign, well, you'll find that they will just take a party, for example, and the cardinal signs will go up and go, hi, how are you? Or fixed signs will just stand and wait and then be greeted by others. So that's what that kind of means. That's the way I see it anyway. Mm.
And is that just,
You know how you notice people who don't move when
yes,
they're at a party and they just
yeah,
stay where they
yeah.
are
And
and
is it
they
because they're
just,
comfortable like that?
yeah,
Right, because I would get uncomfortable like
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
would be like, oh, I'm
yeah.
just standing here. I need to go and
Mm.
talk to
So
someone,
I
or I
was,
see someone, they catch my eye, I want to go talk to them.
yeah,
But they want to be there.
yeah. I was
They're
at a
happy, right?
Uh, I went and tried this group. I can't remember what they're called now. Anyway, they teach you how to speak in public.
Oh, cool.
And so I went there, and being Cardinal Common, you know, I went around and introduced myself and chatted to everybody that was there. And, you know, so they thought that I was, you know, extremely confident and,
Yeah,
you
no,
know, I'm going to be
that
great,
doesn't
right?
mean that at all.
But your fixed person would have just
Mm.
walked in probably and just sat, you know, and not said anything to anyone. So I'm kind of exposing myself.
Mm.
Yeah, they love routine and they accumulate material goods. So all these fixed signs accumulate something, but each sign you'll find will accumulate something
Oh,
different.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
They can be defensive, and yeah, masculine signs will be more assertive and will possess leadership quality. And they do want power, like
Yeah,
they like power,
yeah,
the fixed
they
signs.
do. Yeah,
But they do it in a subtle way, you know.
yes,
They're not like the cardinal sign who's going to force that kind of power and
yes,
themselves onto you.
yes.
And yeah, okay, we're looking at different signs, and so there's a lot more to look at, but that's just a general, you know, general
Yeah,
outlook.
it's very interesting. Mm.
So Taurus is a feminine sign. Taurus seeks material security, so material comfort and monetary well-being. And so they accumulate material possessions. If you had somebody with Mars in Taurus, I often find that they like to accumulate things that are broken or fallen apart, and just in case they might need that, especially with the men, you know, in case they need that part for enough to fix something else, you know, like a car or whatever, a spring. So they have a lot of things that they like to accumulate.
Interesting.
So the Leo is enthusiastic and passionate, and they like to accumulate honor and glory, and they like to be popular. So they like people to like them. And because they are quite a lovely sign as well. They're generous, vivacious, they're confident, and they have charisma. And so Scorpios, they accumulate emotional experiences. So they can hang on to emotional things, you know, whether that's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. You know, they just remember, you know, emotional experiences because they've got that water element about them, and they're fixed. So they can hang on to something that happened a long time ago.
Right. Okay.
And
That's
loyalty. Yeah,
interesting.
loyalty is very important to them, you know, so if you do something that they're not happy with, like let's say they heard that you were talking about them behind their back, or that you exposed them and they told you a secret, that's a very Scorpio trait, then you've lost them, you know, unless they have to have you in their life, you know, they don't forgive too easily. However, they're lovely people because they can follow something through. So I often find that they specialize in something, and they're just really they become very good at that one, whatever that thing is, you know. So I probably haven't explained that very well, but
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, I find Scorpio, and I guess even that, it's like emotions are kind of hidden, aren't they? They're underneath, it's going on inside them.
Exactly.
So it's hard to see what's going on. And sometimes I know a lovely Scorpio, and when she seems extremely happy, that's when there's probably something going on underneath.
Because they can seem cold and reserved, but we're also talking about any sign in Scorpio. So, you know, you're looking at a chart today with Saturn in Scorpio. So you're looking at all those qualities. There's a bit of a secret thing there going on with that Saturn. So that Saturn is about responsibility and obligation. You know, it was in a friendship area. So it's telling you that there is things that she's not going to tell you about, you know, and perhaps depending on what her Mars is like, you know, whether those friends have been loyal or whether she's been loyal to her friends, you know. So there's something about that Scorpio quality.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's those main themes of loyalty and feelings and trust.
Exactly,
And,
their emotions. So Aquarius is a masculine sign, and they're pretty constant with their opinion. So when they think of something, you know, they have an opinion about something, it's very hard to change their mind. Yeah, they it's not that they can't change it, it's just that you're not probably going to change it. They're going to have to really think that through for quite some time.
Some people, and it's like you can't change their mind. They might one day, but it's got to come from them.
Yeah.
Their own experience.
And that is a very fixed quality.
Even
anyway.
if you go on and on and on and on, pester them or something. That's a fixed sign thing. They have to want to do it.
That's correct. So they can, because they're an air sign, they're quite intelligent, and they can be intellectually intolerant of others.
So like if they feel that the conversation they're having with you is going nowhere, kind of thing.
Well, they want
They're
the
not going to
information.
enjoy that.
So they want the information. Let's say you are studying with somebody who's got what their lord of their ascendant, let's say Sag, and Jupiter is in Aquarius, right? Well, then, you know, they will call you when they need something from you, or you can call them when you need something from them, because that's perfectly fine as well. But then you won't hear anything from them for months and months unless you're going to classes with them. Yeah. So they accumulate knowledge, and we always talk about how you know, many astrologers will say that how social they are, but they're detached more so, you know, so they can be social when they want to be social.
Yes,
and
I always,
detached.
because I always find that to be quite
Normally find them
interesting.
alone on their own a lot, going to things on their own, and you know, you know, like if you had Aquarius rising, let's make it easy, and Saturn happens to be in Aquarius in that first house, you know, so they'll often be on their own. It's not to say that they don't like social things. It's just that they'll go and then they'll, just that's it. They'll either probably take their car so they don't have to be trapped there for hours on end.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of detached also.
And yes. And yeah, or it could be kind of like I do see that with Aquarius people I know, because they can be so friendly and chatty, but then it'll be like, oh, do you want to go and do this now? And they'll just say, no, I'm doing this. Okay. Yeah.
I just remembered I've forgotten all your beautiful digital art. So after we're finished with this mutable common, I'll put that up. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I guess with Aquarius, it is interesting because sometimes you only hear one description, like, oh, they're all about the people and they're all about the networks and community. But then, they're ruled by Saturn and they have that that
reservation and isolation.
Yes. And also I find Aquarius people I know have the same group of friends for a very long time. So they're also quite fixed on, especially friends.
Yeah, that's a fixed sign.
Yeah, very, very like long, like decades long friendships. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have Mars in Leo, thinking about it, and I stayed at a job, so that's in the 6th house. So I stayed at my job for 20 years. So that's a long,
that is very long time.
Yeah, I could elaborate on that, I guess, but being that the cardinal sign, it was constantly on my mind to change, because that's who I am, so I've got the common sign with the Pisces rising, and Jupiter is in Cancer in a cardinal sign, and Venus is in Virgo in a common sign. So I also have that the desire to change and then not be able to make up my mind. I'll do the common and then you understand what I'm talking about. So mutable or common, also known as double-bodied, and Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces are all common signs. The main mutable principle of the common signs is they vacillate between cardinal and fixed signs. So I don't see that a great deal. I see more cardinal and more cardinal kind of operating, not
I
so
think
much
about that
fixed.
quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because most of the people who I know with mutable have a lot of cardinal or other mutable, but I do think of you and how you stayed at your workplace for a long time, and that makes me think, okay, so there's that part. Maybe you gel better with fixed people. Maybe it's that. Maybe you can gel better between cardinal and fixed.
Probably in a
other
workplace,
people.
that would make sense.
Whereas maybe cardinal and fixed people kind of butt heads more. Maybe mutable people can take on both. But then I kind of feel like if cardinal is kind of like maybe leadership, then does that mean mutable is always more dependent on what is going on around them and they're more like receptive and reactive?
It is a tricky thing because there's a lot to look at. And so I don't really want to say things that that I would say in a small classroom situation.
It depends on other things like their ruler or things like that.
You still have if you had the leadership signs like Gemini and Sagittarius both being masculine signs, they are going to be more assertive.
Yes. And I do find that, especially with Sagittarius people that I know are a lot more assertive. Than maybe like Pisces doesn't really get that same sort of
no, they can stand back. And I do see a lot of that kind of flexibility and not making decisions where the common signs are, that's a big part of the common signs.
That's a really good point, is the flexibility. That is kind of the defining point of them is and that's really
because
thing.
you could ring me, you can message me 6 times and say I'm running late, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm like, oh, no problem, no problem, no problem.
You're not going to react and be like, oh, don't worry about it then.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Or like a
fixed sign will do that. Yes, they might let you go once, but after that, you can't or muck them around, and you're in trouble.
Whereas cardinals
and common will be much more flexible with that.
Yeah, and I guess it's probably good to have that flexibility because it gives them space so they're not just rushing into things, but they can move into things quicker than a fixed sign could. Yeah. So yeah.
So a common sign will be indecisive, you know, and they can be uncertain and inconsistent, constantly weighing up their options. Some will mistake this for instability. So I do see a lot of that in myself, where I can't stand going into a restaurant with massive menus because I can't make up my mind what the hell I want, you know. And so too many options. You know, it's still changeable and they can still change their ideas, right? So I have two children who have a cardinal rising and me being a common rising. So my children would say, oh, Mum, can we do this, such and such, you know? And I'll go, oh, yeah, okay. And then I'll have a think about it and then I'll give them a bit more detail. But they've already started messaging or calling their friend immediately. Like but they're making it, they make things happen, right? So they're really onto it. And then I've changed my mind and I've gone, oh, okay, but what about if we do this first and then we, you know, I drop you off at your friend's place, you know, at this time. And so then they've got to message them back. So I had to work out that I couldn't keep changing. I had to really be definite with what I wanted, whether I'll say yes or no to whatever they were doing.
That's a great example.
Yeah. Okay, so Gemini masculine sign can be unstable, although swift in intellectual areas. So we have once again our air sign, and they're logical and rational. They can shift from one topic to another, and they're the talkative sign. Now, if the Lord of Gemini just happens to be 12 signs behind or in the second house, well, then you're not going to see that. So a lot of people will think a sun in Gemini, you know, that person's going to be chatty. But if, you know, you've got Mercury in Taurus, you know, 12 signs away, it's not relating to that sun sign as much. So you're not going to see the qualities of somebody who is more a Gemini person.
It could be more, behind the scenes, or they enjoy crosswords or puzzles.
Sometimes it can be in covert manners, you know, where, you know, when they've had a drink, you know, then they become a bit more chatty. It could relate to somebody else. You know, somebody else, you know, like if it's not, you know, if Mercury's not ruling them, then it could be somebody else, but it would be in that sort of setup because you'd have Virgo rising anyway. So Mercury would be quite important, and that 10th house would be important. But the sun, it just happens to be there. So that's not the native of the Virgo rising. So that's what I'm trying to get
Mercury. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I sort of went off, and some people will have to rewind and to get the gist of what I'm trying to say, because a lot of charts are in my head. And,
I guess it's interesting as well with Gemini how they do get that kind of rap of being unstable.
And some Geminis are very talkative.
But just it's funny how it's unstable but then rational and logical. It's funny. I guess it's because they can sometimes appear to be more comfortable in the rational, logical realm of things rather than emotions.
If you got Mercury in Gemini, you know, that's easier to deal with, right? So then it's the quintessential Gemini, right? Mercury in Gemini, because Mercury rules Gemini.
With Mercury in Gemini, but it's in the 12th house, and not necessarily when they've had a drink, but more when they just get to know you, then they're very chatty.
Yes, okay.
But otherwise, it's like people don't see that side of them.
That's a different, with Mercury being in the 12th house. But if you had Mercury in a area that wasn't in the 12th house, and let's say it was angular, you know, then that's a lot of general knowledge at their fingertips. They can sort of cite a lot of different celebrities or whoever they're interested in.
Those quiz nights.
They'll be great at quiz nights. Exactly. So Virgo is a feminine sign, and they change their mind quite easily. Their practicality is important to them, and they're rational, and they want to continually improve themselves. So their health and well-being is important to them. So have we done all these? We haven't done the Sagittarius and Pisces. Sagittarius is a masculine sign, and you know, so they're all about gaining knowledge as well, but they want to know the big picture, you know. And they're still very flexible, but they are more about travel and the Jupiterian sort of qualities about them, but in a more masculine, dynamic kind of manner.
by wanting to know the bigger picture, is that kind of what gives them that sort of leadership element? Is it because they want to kind of see the bigger picture, not get so involved in the smaller detail? Is that kind of, when I hear that about Sagittarius?
They do, they can be like that, you know, where
so then
they
they'll delegate and trust others to sort it out? Or is it more kind of like bigger pictures in philosophical, like religion and those sort of Jupiterian?
It would depend on where Jupiter is. So like if you had a Sag rising and you had Jupiter in Leo in the 9th house, then that would be more telling of the philosophy and the psychology and the learning side and the religious side and spirituality side. You know, like Jupiter is naturally like that anyway. Those are the things that it wants to do. It wants to travel. It wants to know about religion or spiritual concepts, and it may not be practicing at any of that, but it still is quite not wants to know the knowledge and that information. So it wants to know what's out there, what's the world. You know, that's why it likes to travel, and they can't sometimes because they're masculine. They can't finish at what they're doing, you know, so they flick from one thing to another. So,
okay, interesting. So they might have like a good knowledge about something, but if there was a pop quiz question about it, they might not know that specific sports person, what score they made in 1973 or something. Specific like that. But they know, they've experienced a lot of things in different.
Well, if you took our Sag rising and then you looked at Jupiter in Aquarius, so that's a Sag sign rising and Jupiter is in Aquarius. So there's both they want knowledge, and so they want a bit of everything, and it is in the third, it would be located in the 3rd house. And so then it will be doing a lot of those short courses and things like that through their life, you know, and because it's in a fixed sign, it can follow it through, you know, and because it's in Aquarius, they've probably got a very good memory of retaining a lot of those courses.
Very interesting.
Okay. So Pisces is the feminine sign, and we still have all those Jupiter qualities, you know, but we have it in a feminine manner. So it might be more creative and artistic, and it's a water sign. So, you know, they're emotional and they can feel what other people feel, you know. So so they're still very flexible. Yeah. What else can we say about Pisces? I'm a Pisces rising, so I'm only going to say positive things.
Sometimes I think the Pisces, I'm not sure if it's Pisces rising, but Pisces, it's like you don't always, it's kind of like the water, like you don't always see what's down the bottom. Yeah. Like, and then when they tell you, it's like, whoa, there was a lot down, or show you, there was a lot down there welling up.
Yeah.
And so they really do think deeply about things and feel deeply about things.
But, you know, I've met astrologers who have said to me, oh, they can't stand the Pisces rising or the Sun in Pisces people because they're too wishy-washy and but, you know, that's probably because they're cardinal signs, you know, or they're fire signs.
So,
you know,
because they've
and
got
we're
that mutable
thinking
energy.
and we're thinking and looking at the options and weighing
And
up,
I
you
guess
know.
in a way, water is
Can't make up our mind.
Yeah, water is so flexible, isn't it? You know, water can keep moving. Whatever obstacles are in the way, water just finds another way. It's flexible. So if you're Pisces and you're mutable water, you're going to be extremely flexible. That's so funny because I used to always read the Pisces description, like Pisces sun description, and think, oh, that sounds like the best sign to be, the nicest, and then why is Aries so mean and Pisces get such a lovely description about them?
Yeah, I know they are very easygoing, and sometimes that can annoy other people as well. And I suppose that's depends on.
You want other people to be exactly like you, though. If you're a cardinal, like it's like no, it's nice to have people around you who are different and bring different qualities. Yeah, so I guess Pisces rising are very kind. I find very interested in different things, as in like, you know, astrology and stuff. I find a lot of Pisces rising are interested in that, or at least open to hearing about it. Pisces, that I guess it's that spiritual side as well.
Yeah, they share all that. They still share all the Jupiter qualities with travel, education, and wealth. You know, all those Jupiter
I find that
topics.
they don't want to necessarily be in the spotlight. you know what I mean? Or
Mm.
especially Pisces
Okay.
sun that I found, they sort of,
It would
yeah,
depend on
they're
where it's
quiet.
placed, really, because
Yeah,
a Pisces sun, I would say, then they won't shy away from the limelight if they happen to be angular or
yes, like in the
succeedant.
10th house or
Yeah,
the first house. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that makes sense.
I might just share
Yeah,
the
yeah,
digital art
sure.
that
Just
you
to kind of
created. Or did I share
consolidate
that?
it. I think
Hopefully.
that's sharing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's yep, sharing
Cardinal
screen.
signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn.
Yep.
And then we have fixed sign: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Mutable or common signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces.
Something interesting about this one as well, I guess, is like Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by Mercury, and Sagittarius and Pisces are both ruled by Jupiter. But with the other two, fixed and cardinal, that doesn't seem to happen. They have different rulers.
Well, don't forget they're also the opposition.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got Aries as opposes Libra,
yeah.
and Cancer opposes Capricorn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
I find
when we so this all these are leading up also to aspects. So
yeah.
Where the elements are all going to be the trines.
Yeah, and it was quite cool. I think
The masculine and
particularly
feminine are sextiles.
yeah,
so,
particularly with the mutables, it was kind of like Gemini focus on smaller things, Sagittarius on bigger. You can really see that opposition play out with the mutables. Same with Virgo and Pisces. Virgo, they're both very caring. Virgo, sometimes it could be like, how can they help someone with a specific issue? Whereas Pisces, it could be more sort of, I guess, like, how do you explain it? Sort of like they'll just sort of accept you as you are kind of thing, more than trying to fix you. Like Virgos can sometimes want to, as their way of showing love, be like, well, that's an issue you have, so I'm going to help you with that. Whereas Pisces, I think it's more kind of like, if I'm explaining that properly, you've got the Virgo Pisces thing, so you probably able to weigh in on that. Do you agree? That's sort of like that, more that energy where I think Pisces kind of gets the stereotype of like, oh, if you've got problems or red flags, come to me. I'll just accept you as you are.
Well, I've met some very difficult people who, I mean, I do have Jupiter that rules the 10th house. So normally leaders and I get along quite well with, because it's Jupiter, right? And I'm ruled by Jupiter. So it's one of my houses that connects to my ascendant. However, some people I've worked with, there's a lot of people that don't get along with that person.
Yeah,
and so you find, and the other person that gets along with them is another Pisces rising.
Yeah,
right? So
that's what I mean. Yeah, kind of accepting people who, other people can't stand them because they've got all these, whatever, inconsistent or let people down.
Well, some people are just not going to have challenging or difficult people in their lives, So, anyway, so that's just the whole common sign flexibility,
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
But more the feminine will have more flexibility, and maybe doormats as well. Yeah. I'm sure I've been called that before.
Yes, you are very kind. Yeah. But I guess it depends on other planets there as well, if you can sort of stand up for yourself and
and I've met other Pisces rising who haven't had a decent Jupiter, and they can be all over the place and panic and very anxious and worry about things, that they can't really control. So it really depends on your rising, your the lords of your rising. And don't forget, we are actually looking at all the planets and their signs. I mean, I'm always more concerned about the ascendant and the lords of the ascendant, but we're looking at any sign. So even if you're not a Capricorn rising or Aquarius rising or Libra rising, Saturn, we would still be doing the same thing with each planet. Saturn, what sign is it in? And then going through our steps. Okay, so I think that's probably quite a big topic today, and
very interesting.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, that would be wonderful, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.